Hi, this is Joe Satriani at Studio 21 in San Francisco, where I recorded Professor Saxophonculus and the Mysterion of Rock, and where for over a year the guys from VOX and myself did a lot of R&D developing some new pedals. Well, working with the design team was great because right there in a live situation, we have a couple of guitar players in the room. We all play different. We're plugged into a variety of different amps, and we've got engineers with all sorts of components laid out on a table. We could then change, alter, enhance right there on the spot, plug it in. Everyone could pass the guitars around and play, and it was great. It was exactly the way it should be. I love pedals. I have too many pedals, and I'm always out there collecting more. I've definitely tried every pedal under the sun, and especially the vintage ones are great, but unfortunately the vintage ones break down. They're not serviceable really. The parts are no longer available, and so it's a dead end eventually. The future really is to get in there and to do a redesign and to elevate the art of the pedal that you like, and make something that can last forever, something that's dependable, something you can use on stage and in the studio. Because of what I do on stage every night and what I'm putting on records, I really do ask a lot of pedals, and you can look at it this way. I'm playing guitar all night long. I'm playing the intro, I'm playing the melody, the rhythm part, all the solos, and so I'm asking a lot of these pedals, and that really drove the R&D to a new height. It's very difficult to focus on just one little element of distortion for hour after hour after hour. And yeah, sometimes you go crazy, you think you're going to lose it, but I think in the end that intense R&D is what really makes a great product.
And so what is this pedal going to be called?
The Satchurator.
The Satchurator really is a multifunction distortion pedal. It can sound like my signature sound very easily, but you can also dial back that gain to the point where it becomes, the perfect pedal for the smoky blues gig. It's something that you can use strictly for rhythm guitar. It's got more control than any of the other vintage pedals I used to use in terms of its gain structure. And one thing it does really great is it cleans up great. When you back your guitar volume down, this thing becomes crystal clear. And that was something we worked on for months and months. This pedal really does go from 0 to 100 and even beyond that. It's a lot of fun to play with, and I think that's probably the most important part. The Satchurator has got a more switch on it, and this is pretty obvious. I found myself on stage many nights where I thought I was at 10, but actually I was never at 10. It seemed like all the distortion pedals I had would only really go to 8.5 or 9.2 or something like that. And so the first thing I wanted to do was to make sure that in distortion 1 that you could really get to 10, something that you felt was 10. But of course, once you're there, you always want to go more. You want to go a further step, and without sounding too Spinal Tap, I really did want to go past 11. And so we came up with this word more, which basically what it does is it sort of doubles the feeling of having this saturation of distortion. And that was so important for me because there were so many moments on stage where that's really what I'm looking for. I'm not necessarily looking for more edge or more volume. I'm just looking for more of that sound, of that complex rich harmonic distortion, and that's what the Moore switch does. The prototypes did solve a dynamic problem where it wound up being an important part of at least 3 or 4 songs for the new record, and it really was an innocent discovery process there where I'm playing in the studio after having, number 9 prototype plugged in. I make a recording and I sit back and I listen and I go, wow, that's amazing. That's what we were talking about a couple of days ago. The pad switch came about because I noticed over the years that sometimes you got this great vintage pedal that created a good sound. It might be an overdrive or a distortion. But then when you put it together with a flanger or a wah-wah pedal, either before or after, you start to pick up some, not so good clipping artifacts. We figured out a way to put in a switch where if you really want to use this pedal and that pedal, and they generally don't like to be next to each other, throwing this pad switch actually allows these pedals to work together. Sometimes you find yourself just with too many prototypes. This is the red knob prototype of the Satchurator. We basically classify all of our prototypes with the different chicken head knobs. So there's white, yellow, green, red, brown, black. And the only thing that can separate them in your mind is, the color of the chicken head knob or the tread or some little element, and people are starting to get confused. Was that the brown one or the red one or the first yellow one or the third one? But I think out of those days of frustration would always come this, this ray of light, this window that would, help us see that there was a design answer. There was something that was going to lead us to the next step up, and we would accomplish what we needed, and then we'd move forward to the next element. I'm here in the studio with the very first painted Satchurator Distortion box in my favorite color. I got myself involved in every aspect of the pedal. Of course, the sound is extremely important. It's my signature sound, and the Satchurator had to have all these new functions that I knew we could put into the design that would make it just so much more exciting for me to use. But of course, the look was very important too. We wanted it to have a fresh look, a boutique look, and we spent months and months kicking around, chicken head knobs and little switches and colors. Just because we want this thing to really announce itself as being a unique pedal and a great pedal, and we want it to fit in with a whole line of pedals that are coming soon.